People hear, oh, you don't want to water your oaks. This one you can water. You can make it grow real big, real fast. Steve was just talking earlier before the program here. He's got one that's, what, 7 years old and 20 plus feet?
Yep.
Yeah,
it's actually a little more like 10 now,
and
but it's,
the reason you can put, this one actually near Lexington Reservoir survives with inundation. I've seen them completely inundated, and they're 40, 50 years old, so they've been there a while. The reservoir's been there a very long while. They can live underwater, so that's how much you can water this oak. Do you have a question?
Yes, I know that this oak, a lot of can take a lot of water. So what is your opinion on planting oaks as a street tree? I mean, because the common hill, what I've heard, I often get warnings that in 20 years' time, the roots will cause sewer problems.
I don't know if that's the case. I think any tree that grows in a riparian situation, such as a willow, I would be much more cautious about a willow than an oak.
Oh, I wouldn't even consider growing
a willow.
I want a tree that will not, whose roots will not tend to.
Yeah, I wouldn't guarantee that it wouldn't be able to invade sewer lines because it is water seeking. I mean, it's looking for the water table. This tree.
Any tree
has a chance. Yeah, it has a chance.
Any tree is a potential. The question is how close is the tree to the line? That's one of the most.
You never want to plant right over a line.
And then the other thing is what kind of integrity does the line have? Those are the two things. But any tree is a potential threat to a sewer line, especially if it's growing too close.
And especially ones that are.
The question would be how close is too close. I mean, I live in an area with small lots.
Yeah, I think if you're right on top of a sewer line, that taproot's going to, it's going to destroy a pipe probably. But I think peripheral roots, if you're off to the side, are less likely to do so.
Yeah. I'd say you definitely wouldn't want a tree. I mean, 12 feet would be really close. It'd be better to have a tree more than 20 feet from the sewer line. Any tree.
And that's if you know where the sewer lines are.
Yeah.
And there?
I have a valley oak, and I'm curious. I've never seen acorns on it. Is there a male or female, or do some just not produce acorns?
Well, I wonder if you have another valley oak around.
No.
So it does need to, they don't normally self-pollinate. I think you need an outcross. So they do have both male and female flowers on the same plant, but you'd probably need one from another plant to blow its pollen on yours to produce fruit. So that might be. I mean, it is wind pollinated, so if you have one that's upstream of you in the wind, but if yours hasn't fruited, that's possibly why.
I have two volunteer oaks and they look like that, but they're very close to the power lines, and I always wanted to move them. They're about between 5 and 7 years old and about 10 feet high. Is there a chance for me that I could successfully move them?
That's the sound of a backhoe, because that's what you'd need. There's a chance, always, but you'd have to go very, very deep. Oaks, when they're about this tall, have a root that goes down about 4 times that. The first thing they do is go boom with their root, and then they put up a little bit here, and then they put up a little bit more here. Their root goes down much further than what you're seeing up here because they're trying to establish. So I imagine one that's that old is probably going to be really tough. I would never say never, but you'd probably have to dig out 20 plus feet.
Did they
underneath?
Yeah. Did they start there from acorn?
I don't know. I just all of a sudden one year I thought, wow.
So they must have came from an acorn.
Because the trees that start from acorns, I've dug them up and they're this tall. And they already had a taproot 4 feet deep.
Yeah.
So if I cut the taproot when they're dormant and move them, they won't regenerate?
They'll die.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cutting the taproot, you want to try not to disturb the taproot if you're going to transplant it. And as soon as I see an oak come up and I transplant it, it may have success, but other than that, it's really rough. I won't say never.
But I would say your chances of moving trees that were started from acorns that are that size are
5% chance. Yeah.
Yeah. And the thing of it is, they will have a setback for a long time because you'll have to lose a lot of root.
Yeah.
Get another acorn.
Yeah.
My sister's got one in her yard that I moved about 50 years ago. It was about this big, and I took as big a soil ball as I could get. I went as deep as I could where I cut the taproot.
Yeah.
And it sat there for years.
Trying to recover.
recovering
Yeah.
from that. And eventually now it's the tree about 35 feet tall.
Huh, so it did live. Go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, anybody who'd like an oak. Anybody who'd like an oak. When you have oaks, you have acorns. And when you have acorns and you have scrub jays, then you have lots more.
So you get Valley Oak volunteers, huh?
So I get Valley Oak volunteers.
See, that's
I
what the
get-
Valley actually doesn't have anymore, is what Steve has. So congratulations. You know?
So
because
anybody
what-
who would like a coast live oak, or an interior live oak, or a valley oak, I get all those volunteers.
Excellent.
See me after the class.
Yeah, that's great because when we've paved over and, you just don't see very many Valley Oak seedlings anymore. You just don't, unless you have an area
I
like
see about a
Steve
dozen in
has.
my
that-
yard.
Yeah, well, he has an area that he doesn't, I presume you don't mow there.
Right.
That's why, There may be volunteers out there, but they get mowed over right away.
Well, once you have them, you get them.
Right.
And there are years when the rains hit the flowers and you don't get acorn.
Right. A wet
So
spring is not
we
good.
have good years and we have bad years, and you can sort of tell by the squirrel population.
Yeah.
Would a redbud tree pose a threat to a sewer line?
Any tree could, like Jeff said, any tree could.
Any tree?
Yeah.
Well, redbud is so small that
Yeah, it
it's
still would
much
probably
less
have a
of-
substantial taproot.
Much less of a threat.
Yeah.
I wouldn't put it right on top.
Some of the other oaks we have, of course, everybody knows coast live oak, I think. It's pretty common. That's actually the most common one I see volunteering in the valley from a tree nearby. And they can, provide a lot of habitat for, this is actually an oak moth caterpillar. And they'll sometimes defoliate a tree entirely, completely take it off. The tree will come back, though, almost all the time. When there's an oak moth infestation, you used to see the birds. They love it. It's like a smorgasbord. Gene.
Yeah, one thing we might think about is the sudden oak death. And the live oak does get it, and the tan oak gets it, but that valley oak does not. And so if you're anywhere near a wild area where there might be an infestation, don't plant it. Don't plant the live oak if you have a choice.
So you plant a coast live oak and you get this in like 400 years. Isn't that lovely? I love how coast live oak tends to do this. Actually, several of the oaks will do this.
Better than jungle gym.
Isn't that something? Imagine the myriad of creatures that live in just that one shot right there.
Makes you want to climb it.
Probably break. So blue oaks are interesting. They actually are one of the more drought-tolerant oaks we have. They live in torturous circumstances in our area. And they have a good name, because oftentimes they have this bluish cast to the leaf. This is a deciduous oak that, like I said, grows. It's not terribly common in our area. It makes almost a complete ring around the Central Valley, all those dry hills around the Central Valley. And there's a comparison between the blue oak and the coast live oak. You can really see the blueness of it. If you're in an area that gets more than about 20 inches per year, it's probably too wet for blue oak. It prefers to have less than 20 inches of rain per year. So like I said before, trees are habitat in general, and this happens to be a Douglas fir, but other trees and sometimes even houses get used by the guys
Acorn
making
woodpeckers,
these.
yeah.
Acorn woodpecker, and these are family, these can go on for centuries. This is a family granary tree, and they'll depend on this for storage in years that are lean, or they store up in the fall and harvest as they need them. And these guys are just so fun to watch too. They're hilarious. They're the clowns of the woodpecker world, if you ask me. And they're the only bird that can chase away the stellar jays for me. The stellar jays rule the roost at my place until these guys come and chase them away.
These guys are natives?
These guys are natives. Yeah, these are the acorn woodpeckers that are very tied to California oaks. So there's also lots and lots of shrubs. So we'll go through some of these here. For every one I'm mentioning, I'm leaving 5 out because we're trying to get this done in an hour. So just keep that in mind. But these are some of the top ones. This is blue elderberry, Sambucus nigra, subspecies canadensis. Used to be called Sambucus mexicana, but This is the blue elderberry. This makes beautiful flowers that are fragrant and visited by insects big time. And then it also makes yummy fruit to people even. I like this particular elderberry. Don't eat the red elderberry. The blue one's edible, the red one's toxic. But all sorts of birds love these. These are bird dispersed. It's a very tough shrub. This is a plant that you can put in the ground in fall. You know, a 1 gallon plant, put it in the fall and never water it again. The rains come, it gets watered in, and I've done that in several places where I've never had to worry about it again.
Why was part of it kind of white and the others blue?
They have this sort of blue bloom. I don't know if that part may have gotten wet right there, that sort of wiped off the bloom. I think the bloom is actually probably yeast that forms under the fruit. Yeah, it comes off, but you know, grapes have yeast that grows on the skin of the fruit, and I suspect that's probably what that is.
Sambucus mexicana.
That's what this is.
They changed the name.
Yep.
They've changed everything.
So you've probably heard of the California lilacs, Ceanothus species. They're very, very popular plants. Even if you've not been into California native plant gardening, you may have encountered this at Summer Wind's nursery.
Is that concha?
This probably is concha. Yeah. There's many, many, many different varieties and selections of Ceanothus, and I'm not going to go into all the different ones here because they're all good habitat plants. They're great. Dense shrub that has great flowers. What more do you want? You can even have a tree form. How about that? This is a Ray Hartman.
Which one is that?
That's Ray Hartman.
What is that?
It's a selection. It's just another Ceanothus. A Ceanothus tree.
It's a Ceanothus tree?
Yep.
It's pruned that way. It doesn't-
Well, Ray Hartman tends to be a tree, though.
No,
Ray
it
But
Hartman
you have
can
to
be
prune off
trimmed
some of
that
the
way?
things. Yeah.
Yeah, that one you have by your back door, you can trim it that way.
And what?
There's a nice low
Yeah,
carpeted
she
one.
has
This is
Ray Hartman
this is from around Hearst Castle. Ceanothus hirsutorium. And yeah, as I promised, they bring in the insects. That's a common checker spot. The arctos, the manzanitas. I love manzanitas. They flower in winter, January, February. This is a commercial landscape in Los Gatos. I pass every day, and they've used one of the more popular manzanitas. This is Arctostaphylos Howard McMinn, which doesn't really present too many challenges. Some of the arctos can be a little bit challenging. Some of the manzanitas can be a little bit challenging. This one's not so much.
He's talking about the long tree, not the tall one?
Yeah, I'm talking about this guy right here. This is a cherry, but this is another busy landscape. I just stood here and watched the insects on it, right in this strip mall area.
Which one is that?
This is Howard McMinn. Howard McMinn. It's a selection. This is unto for, it was unnamed until just recently. This is the Aloni manzanita. So there's a lot of different rare ones, but it's a pretty one. Grows in really rough circumstances in Santa Cruz County. The manzanitas produce little apples. Manzana is apple. Manzanita is little apple. And they are edible. They're a little bit of work for us to eat, but for many creatures, they're great. A little closer. And the flowers in January, well, actually starting as early as November through about March. Find a stand of manzanita and sit back and watch the fun. Because hummingbirds love these guys. There's a hummingbird view. I see hummingbird wars. I mean, there's hundreds of these shrubs in this one area where I go in Santa Cruz County. Can't you guys share? No, this is mine, and they'll beat each other up for this one shrub, even though they're all over the place. It's just hilarious to watch them. The Fremontodendron, the flannel bush, is a really dramatic plant that has lots of habitat value as well. Not terribly common in our area, but commonly used in horticulture. And I always get this question. I got this one area that's really hot and dry. What do I do?